This February 14th through 16th, swarms of gamers won't be celebrating Valentine's Day or any of our presidents, but instead are converging in sunny San Jose, California for the beloved Genesis Tournament Series, whose 11th iteration is confusingly named GX2. Melee's annual flagship event has been running since 2009, with the original Genesis being larger than any Melee event before it. Here, we saw the birth of a historic rivalry between a previously unknown European player who would go on to be the game's most dominant against a player who would eventually be considered the greatest of all time. The two would meet in grand finals of Genesis 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mango and Armada would both be eliminated by a new contender, Plup, and the first super major win by a player outside of the top 6 since, well, a really long time ago. New winners were crowned in the following years, with Hungrybox winning Genesis 6, Zane winning Genesis 7, and Jmook making an unthinkable historic run to place second at Genesis 8 as the 21st seed, ultimately falling to Zane. Jmook would fittingly get his first place major win at Genesis 9, and Cody Schwab would easily take first at Gen 10 after being freshly minted as the number 1 player of 2023. With the 2024 rankings recently released, I'd figured we'd go over what Genesis might look like for some of the top players. Zane just came off being ranked number 1 for 2024 and is looking for the three-peat, as Armada is the only Melee player to have won Genesis 3 separate times. He's looking to improve his legacy and is the only player to regain the number 1 spot after losing it. His bracket run has Salt, Amsa, Moki, and Cody on winner's side, which frankly is pretty tough. Moki's been gunning for him for a while, Cody's a player he's been going back and forth with many times, and Amsa was kind of his weakness in 2022 and 2023. If he loses to Amsa, he will have to play Aklo in loser's side of top 8, which is a player who has given him some problems in the past. Cody is coming to Genesis, but given his semi-retired status, it's always kind of hard to judge exactly how well he's going to do. He won last year in an absolute dominant fashion, and has Sunsei, Plup, Jmook, and Zane in his path. Sunsei, a character who has taken wins over him before. But other than that, this isn't a particularly bad bracket path for Cody. Dear Lord, please help Mango not shit the bed this year. It's been a long time since we've seen a decent Mango Genesis run, and considering the fact the Birds just won the Super Bowl, we probably won't be seeing one this year unless Mango cuts his bender uncharacteristically short. In fact, he hasn't made top 8 since Genesis 7 pre-COVID, and some of those performances are quite awful. I mean, come on. I've gotten 97th at Genesis. But, first rule of Melee, never sleep on the kid. And despite the fact that he's had no decent showing since last October, there's always a chance that the kid pulls one out of the bag. That's all to say, I won't be holding my breath for Mango this year, but I hope he puts on a nice show for us. Moki just came off his first major win at the tail end of 2024, and in his path has SDJ, Aklo, and Zane in top 8. This is a player I'm willing to bet on for Genesis, as SDJ probably won't be a roadblock with Moki's Puff experience. Aklo might be a tough matchup, but is better than a lot of the other matchups he'll get at this point in the tournament. And Zane is a player that Moki's been gunning for many years. I think Moki's set to have a very good Genesis run. Jmook historically has done quite well at Genesis, dating back to his original G8 run, and has Zamu, Crudo, Hbox, who he's seeded to beat, and Cody in his path. If he ends up losing to Hbox, he'll play against Mango, which shouldn't be a bad matchup. But Cody, Hbox, and Zamu are all players that have beat him before and might make his run look a little shaky. Not to mention, the Sheik Ditto is so volatile that he's a chance to lose to Crudo as well. Jmook has been on the up and up, also winning a major at the end of 2024, but I'm not sure that James Mook will have as historic a run as he has in past years. Hbox seemed to have plateaued, with his focuses in life being elsewhere in Ultimate and streaming, but he's still one of the greatest of all time. Joshman has beaten him before, but historically Hbox has a huge edge in that matchup, and Jmook and Mangos are both pretty good draws for him. If he can perform decently well and Jmook doesn't pop off, he should be looking at a pretty good run. Out of the top 20 players, all but Kadoran and Nikki will be in attendance, but I figured a few others deserve some attention. Plup was unranked last year due to his lack of attendance, but still had quite a stellar year, and is a perennial top 10 player. And he's seeded to play Wizzy, who he has historically trounced, into Cody, who's expected to beat him, and finally needs to beat Triff to make it out. I'm also willing to guess that Plup will lose to Hbox. Same as Mango, those two players just seem to get the yips against Hbox, perhaps from all those years that he would beat up on them pre-COVID. Laud will also be in attendance. Taking time off from being a full-time doctor, he's supposed to lose to Amsa and Meds, but I can see him making it far deeper than that. He was ranked 12 before he stopped playing consistently. It's also important to pay attention to the rock, paper, scissors that has been going on in the top 5 for the past couple years, with Amsa consistently beating Zayn, Zayn trouncing Mango, Mango having the edge against Cody, and Cody destroying Amsa. Depending on how a few matches could go, it could totally shift the dynamic of who's expected to win the tournament. Now for Lantern's Big Bets, a segment where I tell you some matches that I think you should pay some special attention to if you'll be doing some side betting Genesis weekend. First of all, Jmu Crudo is an extremely volatile matchup, and Crudo's been leveling up from his Drug Fox training, but Jmu has some new wind coming in from 2024. I think this set has some huge upset potential, but certainly is not a safe bet. That being said, if you're willing to take a risk, perhaps there's some money on the table there. H-Box and Nunn are also seeded to play. It's happened before at Genesis that Nunn's made the upset, and both of these players are slightly out of shape, so that one could also go either way, and I think has a lot of upset potential. Junebug Crudo is another one to watch. It's an upset that's happened before, and June is certainly full of surprises. Also, Triff SDJ is going to be an absolute slugfest. I think SDJ will have the advantage, as Puff traditionally has a very good edge over Peach, but Triff does enjoy the kind of slow, patient gameplay that this matchup forces. Overall, I'd say that you can expect a fairly normal tournament. I think there's a lot of players that are really close in skill level to the point where any match could go the other way, but no match is going to totally change the dynamic of the tournament. I think the sets leading into top 8 are probably going to be most important in determining who the winner is. So that's it for my Genesis predictions. Don't forget to keep an eye out for any players that are playing particularly hot so you can put a big bet on them later. If you end up running into me at Genesis, feel free to say hi and perhaps we can bet on some action. And lastly, don't forget to pray for a big Mango W before the action begins on Friday. Bye.